All right, welcome in, ladies and gentlemen. So, fresh off the Nintendo presses this morning. So, I have been predicting this for several months now. I really didn't think that the sequel to Breath of the Wild was going to be coming out in 2022, just because there hasn't been a whole lot of news or announcements, trailers, gameplay things, and just in general, we don't even have a finalized name for the game yet. It's still working title, sequel to Breath of the Wild 2, but for simplicity's sake, let's just call it Breath of the Wild 2 for the rest of this video. I think we can agree on that. So the game has been delayed until spring 2023, which is kind of where I would kind of put it. I estimated it that it was going to be a March release for 2023. So spring 2023 could be March, April time, which I'm perfectly fine with. They can take as much time with the game as they need, because I know for a fact that it's going to be a fantastic experience the entire way through. Game of the Year candidate, just like the original. And if you guys didn't know, The Legend of Zelda is my favorite franchise of all time. It's close to Metal Gear, but Metal Gear's kind of up in the air at this point. But hands down, Legend of Zelda is my favorite franchise of all time, so I don't mind waiting a couple more months for the game to come out. Another thing that was announced in the trailer, that there's officially a different region that has not been fully shown or explored quite yet. So we have the original kind of land area that the first game took place, but we've also seen gameplay of regions in the sky, a la like Skyward Sword. But they announced in today's video that there's actually going to be a separate region, which I'm guessing, based on everything that I've seen, I think it's going to be the exact opposite, kind of like the antithesis of the sky region. I think we're going underground, so like an underworld type region, because it kind of fits into place with some of the enemy types that we saw in the very first release trailer. If you guys remember the first release trailer, there was an enemy who was it looked like it was very dark, grungy, and he looked like he's basically living in darkness the entire time. So I think the next region, if I were to make a guess, is probably going to be underground. So just in terms of story, you'll probably notice immediately based on the trailer that there's a scene where Link pulls the Master Sword out of his back. Not only does he look very haggard, he's like wearing rags for clothing. You can visually see quickly that the Master Sword looks like it's been corroded in some sort of way. So I think this kind of sets up what we can expect in terms of our progression. So there's really only two ways they could have done this. If we're starting a brand new game, they could have either debuffed us and made all the equipment that we had from the previous game absolutely useless, or they could have made a weapon that is better than the Master Sword, which is pretty much blasphemy if you talk about the Legend of Zelda franchise. The Master Sword should be always at the very top of the totem pole in terms of weapons, but obviously they can't start us off at the very beginning of the game with the best weapon, because it just would break the entire flow of the game. You wouldn't use any other weapon if you always had the Master Sword on you, especially if you have the one fully powdered and able to shoot lightning out of the or magic out of the handle, a la the original games from A Link to the Past. So what I'm guessing is it's probably we're going to progress through the game, and throughout the entire game we're pretty much going to be trying to reinvigorate or repower the Master Sword to get it back up to its full potential. It's the cardinal debuffed players before from all progress from the previous games that we've all come to expect. Pretty much if you played any video game franchise long enough, it's just kind of expected at this point. So yeah, that's in terms of gameplay. I think that's how the level progression is going to work out, and how they're going to basically kind of nerf us from all progress from the first game. So another thing that I'm somewhat hyped and excited about, because I think that there's going to be the possibility that they're basically going to do a Twilight Princess release with this game. And what that means to me is that I'm really hoping, and I'm getting really excited that it's going to be a cross-generational game. So if you guys remember the release of Twilight Princess, it was a game that released both on the Nintendo GameCube and launch day with the release of the Nintendo Switch. So you had the opportunity to play it on either the newest generation console with the Nintendo Wii, and then you also could have played it on Nintendo's previous console, the Nintendo GameCube. And I think that was a perfect solution to make sure that everyone gets to play the game. But I'm really hoping that the next Breath of the Wild is also going to be available on whatever the Nintendo Switch 2 ends up being, because the console itself is over 6 or 7 years old now, and I'm really starting to think that it's showing its age. It wasn't the most technically graphic console to begin with, and where things are right now, I'm just hoping to play and experience the game with higher fidelity, higher graphics, better frame rate, and I'm just so excited for Breath of the Wild 2 that I'm just kind of hoping that everyone's gonna have the possibility of making a choice of playing it on the original Nintendo Switch, however you want to play it, on the go, mobile, at home, console mode. But I'm really hoping that it's going to be coming out on Nintendo's next generation platform as well, which I'm hoping is going to come out later this year. I've done a couple of videos on it that is pretty much confirmed at this point based on NVIDIA leaks. NVIDIA has basically been contracted to supply the powerhouses for the Nintendo Switch 2, and they've leaked that they pretty much are working on it. So yeah, that's pretty much it. Spring 2023 and new regions, and I'm hoping that it's gonna be a cross-generational game with Nintendo Switches to new platform of whatever new console they call it. So yeah, that's pretty much it. I'm gonna try to keep my eyes open as much as I can to Breath of the Wild 2 and all the Breath of the Wild 2 news, because I'm super excited about the game, and I'll bring you guys more information as it comes. But if you enjoyed the video, as always, thumbs up, I greatly appreciate it, and we will see you guys next time.